Be me, Margaret, 53 years old, principal of Westbrook High for the past 7 years. Worked my way up from English teacher to department head to assistant principal to finally getting the top job. Always knew I was meant to lead. Not to brag, but I've always been the smartest person in whatever room I walk into. Men have been trying to hold me back my entire career. The old boys club, the golf course networks, the backroom deals. I've had to fight for every single thing I've ever achieved, and now I'm finally in a position where I can make real change. Real, lasting, meaningful change. The kind of change that will be written about in educational journals. The kind of change that will make Westbrook High a beacon of progress. Sitting in my office on a Monday morning in September, looking at the plaques on my wall. Certificates of appreciation, awards for administrative excellence. A framed quote from Gloria Steinem that I bought at a conference in Portland. Sipping my fair trade coffee from my ceramic mug that says, "The future is female." Thinking about legacy. What will people remember about my time at Westbrook? What mark will I leave on this institution? Then it hits me. Bathrooms, the most basic, fundamental space in any building, and yet so utterly divided along arbitrary lines. Why do we separate students by gender for something as simple as using the toilet? It's archaic, and it's exclusionary. It reinforces a binary that we know doesn't reflect the full spectrum of human identity. I feel my pulse quicken with excitement. This is it. This is my legacy project. Mandatory unisex bathrooms throughout the entire building. Not optional, not gradual, not some weak half measure. A complete transformation. Every bathroom converted to gender-neutral facilities. I grab my laptop and start drafting the policy document. My fingers fly across the keyboard. I'm in the zone, that beautiful creative space where vision becomes reality. The policy will be effective immediately upon announcement. No lengthy consultation period that would just give the opposition time to organize. No focus groups full of people who don't understand what's at stake. Leadership means making tough decisions. Leadership means having the courage of your convictions. I finished the draft in 2 hours. It's beautiful, comprehensive, detailed, leaving no room for interpretation or loopholes. All gendered bathroom signage will be removed within 1 week. All bathroom doors will be retrofitted with floor-to-ceiling partitions for privacy. Any student or staff member who expresses discomfort will be offered counseling to address their biases. I especially like that last part. If someone has a problem with this, the problem is with them, not the policy. I email the document to my assistant principal, Barbara. She's been with me for 3 years now. She usually agrees with me on everything, which is one of the reasons I hired her. I don't have time for devil's advocates or people who play the "but have you considered" game. I need people who share my vision. Barbara responds within an hour. I can tell from the tone of her email that she's hesitant. She uses phrases like, "perhaps we should discuss," and "there might be some concerns." I call her into my office. She walks in, looking nervous. Good. She should be nervous when questioning my judgment. "Barbara," I say, keeping my voice calm and authoritative, "I noticed some hesitation in your email." She starts talking about parent reactions and school board approval and legal considerations. I hold up my hand to stop her. "Barbara, let me ask you something. Do you believe in equality?" She nods quickly. "Then you understand why this is necessary. The discomfort that some people might feel is temporary. The harm caused by segregated bathrooms is ongoing and systemic." I explain to her that as principal, I have the administrative authority to make facility changes. The school board approves budgets and major policy shifts. This is a facilities matter. I'm within my rights. Barbara still looks uncertain, but she nods and leaves my office. I make a mental note to watch her closely. I can't have people on my team who don't fully support the mission. The next day, I draft the announcement. It goes out to all parents, students, and staff via email and the school website. I read it over 3 times before hitting send. It's perfect, firm, clear, leaving no room for argument. Effective October 1st, all bathroom facilities at Westbrook High School will be converted to gender-neutral spaces. This decision reflects our commitment to creating an inclusive environment where every student feels welcome and valued. Gendered bathrooms perpetuate harmful stereotypes and exclude students who do not conform to the traditional binary. By eliminating these outdated facilities, we are taking a stand for equality and demonstrating that Westbrook High is a leader in progressive education. I sign it simply, Margaret Principal. No need for formality. I want the community to see me as an authority figure who is also approachable, a leader who is confident enough to be on a first-name basis. The responses start coming in within minutes. My inbox explodes. Most of them are what I expected. Concerned parents using words like safety and privacy and uncomfortable. I skim through them without really reading. These people don't understand what they're fighting against. They've been conditioned by society to fear change. They probably watch Fox News and vote Republican. I delete most of them without responding. But then I notice something. The volume of negative responses is higher than I anticipated. Much higher. By the end of the day, I've received over 300 emails, almost all of them opposing the policy. I refuse to let this discourage me. Change is always met with resistance. Martin Luther King faced resistance. Susan B. Anthony faced resistance. I'm in good company. The next morning, I arrive at school to find a small group of parents gathered outside the main entrance. They have signs, handmade signs with messages like, "Protect our daughters," and "Parents have rights, too." I walk past them without making eye contact. Engaging would only legitimize their position. In my office, I check my email again. The responses have continued overnight, and now there's something new. Withdrawal requests. 4 families have formally requested to withdraw their students from Westbrook High. I feel a flash of anger, then calm myself. 4 families out of over 2,000 students. That's nothing. They'll be replaced by students whose families appreciate what we're trying to build here. I forward the withdrawal request to Barbara with a note, "Process these immediately. We don't need families who aren't committed to our values." The week continues. More emails, more negative responses, more withdrawal requests. By Friday, the number of withdrawal requests has reached 47. I start to feel a small knot of concern in my stomach, but I push it down. This is the hard part. Every revolution has its casualties. On Saturday, I check my email from home. There's a message from a man named David. He says he's a parent of 2 students at Westbrook, a junior girl and a freshman boy. His email is different from the others. It's longer, more thoughtful, less emotional. He says he supports the goal of inclusivity. He says he has nothing against transgender students, but he has concerns about the implementation. He mentions his daughter, Emily, says she's a shy girl who already struggles with anxiety, says she's expressed fear about using a bathroom where boys might be present. He asks if there could be some kind of compromise, perhaps maintaining 1 or 2 gendered bathrooms for students who have genuine discomfort. I read his email twice, then I write a response. "Dear David, I appreciate you reaching out. However, I want to be clear that the policy is not open for negotiation. Your daughter's discomfort, while understandable, stems from socialized beliefs about gender that our school is actively working to dismantle. I would encourage Emily to speak with our school counselor about her anxiety." Creating exceptions to the policy would undermine its fundamental purpose and send a message that some students' comfort matters more than others. I trust that in time, Emily will come to see the bathroom situation as a non-issue. Regards, Margaret. I hit send, feeling satisfied. I handled that perfectly. Firm, but compassionate. The following Monday, David's response is in my inbox. He says he's disappointed. He says he had hoped we could find common ground. He says he's withdrawing both of his children from Westbrook, effective immediately. I feel nothing. His loss. But then I notice that David's email is CC'd to several other addresses. I recognize some of them. They're other parents. That afternoon, I receive 63 new withdrawal requests. I stare at the number. 63 in a single afternoon. The total is now over 100. I call Barbara into my office. "We need to discuss what's happening," I say. Barbara sits down and pulls out her tablet. She has the numbers ready. "Margaret, as of this afternoon, we've received 112 withdrawal requests. That represents approximately 5% of our student body." 5% is nothing, I say, though my voice sounds less confident than I intend. "The thing is," Barbara continues, "these aren't random withdrawals. They're coordinated. Parents are talking to each other, forming groups. I've heard there's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night at the community center." I feel my jaw tighten. Of course they're organizing. This is how reactionaries operate. They band together to resist progress. "What do you recommend?" I ask, though I'm not sure I want to hear her answer. "I think," Barbara hesitates, "I think we might want to consider modifying the policy, Maybe a phased approach or maintaining some gendered options. No, I cut her off. Absolutely not. That would be capitulation. That would send the message that if you complain loud enough, you can derail equity initiatives. Barbara nods slowly, but I can see she doesn't agree. I don't care. I didn't get where I am by backing down. I spend the rest of the week monitoring the situation. More withdrawal requests come in every day. The local newspaper runs a story about the controversy. The headline is, "Bathroom Policy Sparks Exodus at Westbrook High." I refuse to be interviewed. I know how the media operates. They would twist my words, make me look like the villain. Better to let my actions speak for themselves. By the end of the second week, the withdrawal count has reached 237. I do the math in my head. That's almost 12% of the student body. The budget implications start to become clear. State funding is based on enrollment. Fewer students means fewer dollars. I push these thoughts aside. Money isn't the point. Principle is the point. But then I get a call from the superintendent's office. The superintendent, a man named Robert, wants to meet with me. I've always found Robert to be a typical bureaucrat, more concerned with numbers and public relations than with actual education. He's the kind of man who says things like, "We need to find a balance," and "Let's look at this from all sides." People who say that never end up on the right side of history. I drive to the district office for the meeting. Robert is waiting for me in the conference room. He's wearing his usual grey suit. His face is arranged in an expression of concern. "Margaret," he says as I sit down, "I think you know why you're here." "I assume it's about the bathroom policy," I say, keeping my voice even. The withdrawals are becoming a serious issue. The board is concerned. "Change always causes short-term disruption," I say. "The families who are leaving aren't the families we want anyway. They're not committed to inclusion." Robert sighs. "Margaret, we've lost over 200 students in 2 weeks. At this rate, we could be down 500 by the end of the semester. That's a budget shortfall of nearly $2 million. I feel a flash of irritation. Why is everything always about money with these people? "Are you asking me to reverse the policy?" "I'm asking you to consider modifications. Perhaps we could—" "No," I say firmly. I refuse to let a handful of reactionary parents dictate our policies. If we back down now, we'll never be able to make any progressive changes in the future. Robert looks at me for a long moment. "Margaret, the board meets next week. If the situation doesn't improve, they're going to take action." I leave the meeting feeling defiant. Let them take action. Let them try to stop progress. I'll fight them every step of the way. Back at school, I throw myself into work. I arrange for the bathroom conversions to accelerate. If people are going to fight me, I want the changes completed before they can stop me. The contractors start removing signage and installing new partitions. I watch them work with a sense of pride. This is happening. This is real. By the end of the week, all bathrooms on the first floor have been converted. I walk through them, inspecting the work. The partitions are high, the doors solid. There's no reason anyone should feel uncomfortable, but the withdrawal requests keep coming. 300, 350, 400. I stop checking my email. I can't stand to see the numbers climb. The parent meeting at the community center has grown into a weekly event. I hear they're getting bigger each time. I hear they've formed an official organization. They call themselves Parents for Privacy and Safety. I think about how clever they think they are, how they've wrapped their bigotry in language about protecting children. I refuse to engage with them. I refuse to give them legitimacy. Then, one Thursday afternoon, I get a visit from someone I don't expect. David appears in my office doorway, the man who emailed me about his daughter Emily. I didn't even know he was in the building. "Do you have a moment?" he asks. His voice is calm, almost friendly. I'm suspicious immediately. "How did you get past the front desk?" "I signed in as a visitor. I'm technically still listed as a parent in your system, even though I've withdrawn my kids." I consider calling security, but something makes me hesitate. Maybe curiosity, maybe the desire to understand my enemy. "Fine," I say. "You have 5 minutes." David sits down across from me. He's wearing a normal button-down shirt and khakis. He doesn't look like a conservative activist. He looks like a dad. "I wanted to talk to you directly," he says. "Without lawyers or school boards or community meetings." "Talk then. I've been thinking about your email, the one where you said Emily's discomfort was from socialized beliefs about gender." I nod. "Do you really believe that?" he asks. Do you really believe that a teenage girl being nervous about sharing a bathroom with teenage boys is just conditioning? Of course it is, I say. In societies without our hang-ups about bodies and gender, this wouldn't be an issue. David considers this. Maybe, he says, but we don't live in those societies. We live here now, where 16-year-old girls and 16-year-old boys have complicated feelings about bodies and privacy and vulnerability. Those feelings can be addressed through education and counseling. Sure, David says. Over time, across generations maybe. But Emily's 16 now. She doesn't get to wait for society to evolve. She has to use the bathroom now. I feel my patience wearing thin. What exactly is your point, David? My point is that you're so focused on the world you want to create that you've forgotten about the students living in the world that actually exists. You've made ideology more important than the actual human beings you're supposed to be educating. I start to respond, but he keeps talking. You know what the worst part is? I actually agreed with your goal. I think schools should be inclusive. I think transgender students deserve to feel welcome. But you've managed to turn a conversation about inclusion into a war about authority. You didn't consult parents. You didn't listen to concerns. You didn't try to find solutions that might work for everyone. You just demanded compliance and called anyone who disagreed a bigot. I never called anyone a bigot. You didn't have to. Your email made it plenty clear what you thought of me and Emily. We were just obstacles to your vision. Problems to be corrected through counseling. I stand up. I think this conversation is over. David doesn't move. One more thing, he says. Did you know that I'm a property attorney? What does that have to do with anything? It has to do with the fact that your bathroom policy may have violated the terms of the school's construction bond from 2018. The bond was issued with specific facility specifications. Making substantial changes without board approval could constitute a breach. I feel something cold in my stomach. That's not possible. I've been looking into it. The community group hired me to investigate. I found some interesting things. The contractor you hired for the conversions? They weren't on the approved vendor list. The work wasn't submitted for building permit approval, and the changes themselves may violate accessibility requirements under the ADA because you reduced the total number of fixtures. I sit back down slowly. You're bluffing. Maybe, David says. Or maybe I'm about to present my findings to the school board at their meeting next Tuesday, along with a formal complaint to the State Department of Education. My mind is racing. The construction bond, the approved vendor list. I didn't check any of that. I was so focused on moving quickly that I didn't... What do you want? I ask. David stands up. Nothing you're willing to give. I just wanted to look you in the eye and tell you that you did this to yourself. You had a chance to bring people together, to find solutions that actually helped everyone. Instead, you decided you knew better than everyone else and that anyone who disagreed was just wrong. And now, you're going to face the consequences. He walks out of my office. I sit there for a long time, staring at the wall. The next few days are a blur. I try to verify what David told me. I spend hours going through contracts and documents. He's right about the vendor list. He's right about the permits. I don't know if he's right about the construction bond, but there's enough there to cause serious problems. I consider my options. I could try to get ahead of this. I could go to the board myself, explain what happened, propose fixes. But that would mean admitting I made mistakes. And I don't make mistakes. I made the right decision. I'm sure of it. The process might have been flawed, but the goal was righteous. That has to count for something. Tuesday arrives. The board meeting is standing room only. I've never seen so many people at a school board meeting. Most of them are wearing those stupid Parents for Privacy and Safety buttons. The board members look uncomfortable. They're not used to this kind of attention. Robert calls the meeting to order. The first hour is normal business. Budget reports, curriculum updates, recognition of student achievements. But everyone knows what's coming. Finally, Robert clears his throat. We have a number of community members who wish to speak regarding the situation at Westbrook High. We'll hear from them in the order they signed up. Person after person approaches the microphone. Parents talking about their children's anxiety, parents talking about their decision to transfer to other schools, parents talking about feeling ignored and dismissed. One mother breaks down in tears describing how her daughter, a sexual assault survivor, can't use the bathrooms at school anymore. I want to stand up and explain. I want to tell them that they don't understand what's at stake. I want to tell them that their discomfort is a small price to pay for progress. But something keeps me in my seat. Maybe fear. Maybe the beginning of something that feels almost like doubt. Then David approaches the microphone. He's carrying a folder of documents. He speaks calmly, clearly, professionally. He outlines everything he told me in my office. The vendor list violations, the permit issues, the construction bond concerns. He presents copies of contracts and regulations. The board members pass the documents among themselves. Their faces grow increasingly serious. When David finishes, there's a long silence. Robert leans into his microphone. "Margaret, would you like to respond to these allegations?" I stand up. My legs feel unsteady. I walk to the microphone. Every eye in the room is on me. "The allegations Mr. David has raised concern procedural matters," I say. "The substance of the policy is sound. Creating gender-neutral bathrooms is the right thing to do for our students. The implementation may have been accelerated, but the goal—" "Principal Margaret," one of the board members interrupts. It's a woman named Patricia. "I'm not asking about the goal. I'm asking about whether you violated district procurement policies, construction permit requirements, and possibly the terms of our construction bond." I hesitate. I may have moved too quickly. I was passionate about implementing this change, and I didn't. "So you acknowledge that proper procedures weren't followed?" "Procedures can be secondary when there's an urgent equity issue." "Secondary?" Patricia's voice rises. "Principal Margaret, these procedures exist for legal and safety reasons. We're now facing potential liability because you decided your agenda was more important than following the rules." I feel heat rising to my face. "With respect, Ms. Patricia, calling it an agenda minimizes the importance of—" "Principal Margaret," Robert cuts in, "I think perhaps this would be a good time to discuss next steps." He gestures for me to sit down. I walk back to my seat in a daze. The board spends the next hour discussing options, legal consultation, compliance reviews, liability assessments. And then someone says the word I've been dreading, suspension. A motion is made to place me on administrative leave pending investigation. The vote is unanimous. I watch it happen like I'm outside my own body. 7 hands raised against me. I feel something crack inside my chest. After the meeting, I walk to my car alone. The parking lot is emptying. I see David standing near a grey sedan. He's talking to some other parents. They're smiling. They won. He won. I drive home in silence. My house feels empty and cold. I pour myself a glass of wine and sit on the couch. I think about everything that happened. I think about the emails I didn't read. The concerns I dismissed. The people I called reactionary without ever really listening to them. I think about Emily, David's daughter, the shy girl with anxiety who couldn't use the bathroom. I remember my response to David's email, telling him her discomfort was just socialized beliefs. Was I right about that? Maybe in some abstract, theoretical sense. But Emily isn't an abstraction. She's a real girl who had real fears. And I told her father those fears didn't matter. I finish my wine and pour another glass. The next few weeks are brutal. The investigation finds exactly what David said it would. Procurement violations, permit issues, bond complications. The withdrawals continue. By Thanksgiving, Westbrook has lost over 500 students. The budget shortfall is catastrophic. Programs are being cut. Staff are being laid off. And it's my fault. All of it. Not because I wanted inclusive bathrooms, not because I cared about transgender students, but because I was so certain of my own righteousness that I stopped listening. Because I decided that anyone who disagreed with me was the enemy. Because I chose confrontation over conversation. Because I valued my ideology more than the actual people I was supposed to serve. The board terminates my employment in December. I don't fight it. I can't. The evidence against me is overwhelming. Not just the procedural violations, but the cascading disaster that followed. A once thriving school now hemorrhaging students and money. A community divided and angry. A cause that I genuinely believed in now tainted by association with my failures. I clean out my office on a Saturday when no one is around. I take down my certificates and awards. I pack my Gloria Steinem quote. I put my future as female mug in a box. I look at the bare walls and think about what could have been. If I had just listened. If I had just talked to people instead of talking at them. If I had just accepted that other people might have valid perspectives. But I didn't. Because I was Margaret. And Margaret knew best. Margaret was the smartest person in every room. Margaret didn't need to listen to people who disagreed with her. I carry my boxes to my car. The school is quiet, Somewhere in the building, there are bathrooms that still have the gender-neutral signs I demanded. They'll probably be changed back now. All that work, all that conflict, all that damage. For nothing. I drive away from Westbrook High for the last time. In my rearview mirror, the building gets smaller and smaller. I think about David's words in my office. You had a chance to bring people together. Instead, you decided you knew better than everyone else. He was right. I hate that he was right, but he was. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if any school will ever hire me again. I don't know if I'll ever be able to shake this feeling of failure. But I know one thing. I know that I was wrong. Not about equality. Not about inclusion. Not about wanting to create a world where everyone feels welcome. I was wrong about how to get there. I was wrong to think that I could demand change instead of building consensus. I was wrong to dismiss everyone who didn't see things my way. I was wrong to make it about me, about my legacy, about being remembered as a leader. Leadership isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about helping everyone in the room work together. I never understood that. Maybe I understand it now? Maybe. Maybe it's too late.